My message today, I titled it Answering the Call. And again, in this season of Lent, I invite you to consider Lent as a season of inner discernment, of noticing what is going on, and remembering that that spirit, that Christ consciousness that dwells at the very center of us, is us, as us, around us at all times, is the source of all good, and it springs from within. That is how we live, from the inside out, and share that divine light in the world. I am going to read a piece that my teacher, Robert Brummett, wrote. This is unusual, but I was really struck by this when I read it this week. He called it The Sword, and you'll see why. I'm calling it Answering the Call. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. I've often heard these words, which are frequently quoted at Christian church service. These are the words of Jesus as recorded in the Gospel of John. Jesus is often called the Prince of Peace because he came to bring peace to all of humanity, we are told. On the other hand, I have never heard these words spoken at a Christian service. Do not think that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to set a man against his father and a daughter against her mother. And a person's enemies will be those of his own household. He goes on to say, anyone who loves their father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Anyone who loves their son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. These are not the words that one would expect to hear from the Prince of Peace. How do we reconcile this seeming contradiction? Well, one way to understand the Gospels is to realize that Jesus was not the personal source of his teachings. Jesus of Nazareth was the vehicle through which the teachings came. The source of his teachings was the Christ presence within him. What he called the Father within does the work. Jesus, the man, had developed his consciousness to such a degree that he was a pure channel for the Christ teachings. He referred to this presence as the Father. He said to his disciples, the words I speak to you, I do not speak on my own. The Father who lives in me does his work. The same Christ presence is within every human being. It is the divinity at the core of each of us. Most human beings, however, have not evolved to the same level of consciousness as Jesus. With most of us, the Christ presence is still largely latent within us. So let's return to the Bible passage and see it in the light of our new understanding. I have come not to bring peace, but a sword. The sword that Jesus references as a universal symbol of discernment, discrimination, and wisdom. The sword is symbolic of the ability to cut through appearances to see the underlying reality. The sword separates the true from the false. The me that Jesus references in this teaching is not himself personally, but the Christ presence within him. He is telling his disciples that our commitment to realizing the Christ presence must become before our commitment to family. Let's be clear. I do not believe he is talking about neglecting our family or deliberately creating strife within the family. What he is referring to is an internal process of breaking our unconscious identification with family, tribe, or clan, and choosing to commit first and foremost to awakening and realizing the Christ presence within oneself. Our soul has two loyalties. One loyalty is to the recognition that it is essentially divine. The other loyalty arises from its identification with being human. A major part of our human identity arises from the bonding of our mother, our family, and our culture. With many people, this human identification is all they are aware of, but some hear the call of the Christ within, telling us that we are more than human, we are also divine. When we choose to follow this inner calling, it may conflict with our human loyalties. We may feel an internal strife or a sense of inner conflict. This can be very confusing if we don't understand what is taking place. The sword is at work. The sword that separates appearance from reality. The process eventually leads to the peace that passes all understanding. To follow the Christ within does not necessarily mean leaving our family or ending our relationship, but it does mean that we must be clear about our priorities. Otherwise, we will fall back into the conditioned identity that tells us, I'm only human, I must cling to this identity to be safe. Jesus, the man, is symbolic of the Christ presence within each of us. The teaching he provided us is a blueprint for discovering, awakening, and realizing this Christ presence within. The Christ teachings are timeless, wordless, and not limited to any particular language, culture, or historical period. They were provided to all of us. They will take us home. That's where his peace ends. I find that a very powerful call to our inner work of becoming aware of the Christ presence within, of making that a priority in our life. Of course, we're still human. We're not going to stop being human. We're not supposed to all of a sudden snap our fingers and float 6 inches off the ground or anything like that. But as we walk this path of awakening, as we walk this path to freedom that Jesus taught, it's critical that we keep first and foremost in our mind the Christ presence that is within us, and let that be our focus and let that lead us. And I have found, and I know that you know, that when we do that, everything else falls into place perfectly and wonderfully in our lives, right? Seemingly of its own accord. In fact, in walking this path myself, I've come to realize, and I remind myself of this often, that my job in all of this, first and foremost, keep my awareness on that divine presence within, and second, get out of my own way. Get out of the way and allow the Spirit to unfold in front of me. My job is to watch for these doors that open, these opportunities, seemingly again out of nowhere, and walk through them, have the courage and the strength to walk through them. This is what it feels like, in my experience, to walk this path of growth and of healing and of freedom. Is to keep returning to the Christ presence within. You know, take a deep breath. It takes courage and bravery to do it. It is not easy. And the changes that happen within us as we do this are not fun, right? They're downright difficult and scary even. I totally understand why we would want to turn and run from those. We all have. I have. We all still probably are. But that's okay, because the grace of the Spirit is infinite. It doesn't matter how many times I have turned away. All that matters is that I turn back over and over and over, just like our inner prayer practice. We place our awareness within, and when it wanders, we return it over and over and over, as many times as necessary. There is no problem unless I create one. There is no problem unless I decide that there is a problem. I choose to decide there is not a problem, that I have a practice, I know what to do, and when I do it, and if I forget, okay, fine, I remember, and I come back over and over again. Some related teachings came to mind. You have heard this one. No one can serve two masters. You cannot serve God and wealth, right? You've got to put the Spirit first. Now, again, as I said a minute ago, that doesn't mean that money is bad. And it's not written anywhere that money is the root of all evil, right? What does it actually say? The love of money. That means if you put money ahead of the Spirit, now you're going down the wrong path. That is arguably the root of all evil. So we choose to always go first with the Christ presence within and know that all of our needs are met. Have faith that they will be. And that's what I have found to be true. My teacher, Edwin Gaines, used to say, I serve God, money serves me. I love that because it puts everything in right relation. There's the Spirit, there's me with my attention on the Spirit, and when I do that, money shows up and serves me. Another from Matthew, for you always have the poor with you, but you will not always have me. I find that a very troubling verse. It's from that story where they're using very expensive oil, pouring it onto Jesus. And some of the disciples are upset about it. Like, why are you wasting? Why are you using all this expensive oil? And that is Jesus' answer. Metaphysically, we see this, that Christ comes first. Always first and foremost. And all is well when we do that. So I ask you, what is calling you home? Robert Brummett's piece ended with that this will lead us home. What is calling you home? What might it be? What are you putting first in your life? What's calling you for release or for healing? These are questions I invite you to sit with. They absolutely don't need quick answers. And if you find that you are placing something other than the presence of the Spirit first, you might be tempted to be judgmental toward yourself. I invite you not to. There's no need for that. You don't need to. All you need to do is, when you recognize that you're placing something ahead of the Spirit, is to choose otherwise. Again, over and over and over. The grace of the Spirit is infinite. It can never run out. You are never out of chances. You're never out of opportunities. Just keep coming back. It's okay. Take a deep breath. It is, in fact, a significant trap on this path to get stuck in that thinking like, oh, I'm no good at this. If you've ever undertaken a mindfulness meditation practice, I'm guessing you have had this experience. This is terrible. I'm in a room full of people. Look, they're all in nirvana. And I'm sitting here with my mind going, blah, 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 blah. Well, guess what their minds are doing? You just can't hear it. We're doing the same thing. We're all in the same boat. We all have that mind. We all have this layer of dysfunction that separates us from our awareness of the Christ within. That's what the sword is to cut through. And it is not pleasant, but it's necessary that we do our inner work. And just know that you're okay. You're okay. As long as you're putting the Spirit first, all is well. All is well. So I have some practical steps. I always try to share practical steps. How can we do these things? How can we know these things? The first one is to listen inwardly. That is an extraordinarily simple practice that we can really easily make complicated. I'm going to share the practice with you. This will not be the first time you've heard it, but I want to call you back to it. The practice is bringing your awareness to what is transpiring within you. Our mind's always out there, either about the future or about the past. My particular brain's all about the future. I don't find myself ruminating over the past. I find myself worrying about the future. Your brain might be different, but one way or the other, it's anywhere but right here and right now. God is right here and right now, and only right here and right now. If my mind is telling me stories about the future or the past, I'm not here. I'm not where the Spirit is. I've distracted myself away. So what do? I come back. How do I come back? I choose to place my awareness gently within myself. I suggest your breath. There are lots of ways to do this, but the breath is easy. Place your awareness on your breath. Guess what happens next? It flies over here. It goes over there. The moment you realize that has happened, don't call it a problem, because it's not. Just return your awareness to your breath. You can do this almost anywhere. You can do this while you're doing the dishes. You can do this while you're sweeping the floor. You can even do this when you're driving, but keep your eyes open, please. But you can keep some of your awareness on your breath whenever you choose to. This, by the way, it helped me finally understand what it could possibly mean to pray without ceasing. If praying is me on my knees with my eyes closed, praying without ceasing is impossible. I choose to think that that verse is not telling me I have to do something that's impossible. It causes me to ask, well, then what might prayer be? It doesn't have to be just one thing. What might it be? Well, if it's this, guess what? You can do this without ceasing. Keep coming back to the Spirit. That is listening inwardly, step one. Step 2, all this takes practice. Step 2 does as well. Discern what is true. This is another potential stumbling block, right? Ask yourself, is this coming from fear? Does it have fear underneath it? Is whatever coming up in you coming out of habit? It's just what you've always done. Or from societal conditioning, this is what I'm supposed to be like, this is what I'm supposed to think. Or is it coming from a clarity that is within you? Is it coming from love? Is it coming from truth? And you say, well, how do I know the difference? Just you can feel the difference. It takes practice. Just notice. If you are feeling motivated to do something out of fear, that's not from the Spirit. If you're motivated to do something to look good in front of others, that's not of the Spirit. You say, well, what is it like if it is of the Spirit? That's like asking, how do I know if I'm in love? I remember being a teenager asking that. And the answer is always what? You'll know. Was that the right answer? Yeah, it was. I have the same answer for you. You will know. How can you not know that which you are? The love that you are at the very core of you, when that shows up, you will know it. So just keep coming back over and over. Be open and willing and ready to learn and to change, and it will show up and you will know it. Third, align yourself with that truth. We have lots of forces pulling us all kinds of ways in life. Again, these societal pressures, you have to be like this, you have to dress like this, you can't say that, you can't do that. People from our family don't go to college. You have to act this way. It's not okay to be angry. All these things that we learn, we're in the process of unlearning. So you align yourself with that truth within. And that is how you move forward on this path. You could ask, what part of me is quietly asking for a different way? Or loudly asking for a different way? That can happen too. Take a step toward something that is calling you that you have delayed on. Again, you're using your inner discernment. Let the Spirit be your guide. You will know. So I'm going to close with this. We listen within. Keep returning to that listening. You discern what is true. And I assure you, you will know when it arises. You will know when that still small voice calls you. It will be abundantly clear. Align yourself with that truth. Wash, rinse, repeat. That's how this works. It's the wisdom of the shampoo. Who knew that the shampoo bottle had the wisdom of the universe printed right there on it? Wash, rinse, repeat. Keep coming back. This is what it means to answer the call of the Christ within. So here's our affirmation. I'll share it, and then we can share it together. Then we'll move into our meditation with music. The affirmation is this: I listen for the divine within. I align myself with that truth. Let's say that together. I listen for the divine within. I align my life with that truth.